What happens when the pursuit of justice goes terribly wrong? The Outreau Affair, a case that shook France to its core, is a chilling example of how false accusations and a flawed investigation can destroy countless lives. The Outreau Affair is a case that will haunt you long after you've heard the final verdict. Our story begins in the late 1990s in the small town of Outreau in northern France. At the center of it all is a woman named Myriam Badaoui and her husband Thierry Delay. Myriam had a troubled past, having suffered abuse at the hands of her own father and later, her husband. Thierry, on the other hand, was known as a violent alcoholic who terrorized his wife and children. Social services had been keeping a close eye on the Delay family for years, but it wasn't until November 2000 that things took a dramatic turn. After Myriam's children were placed in foster care, they started to open up about the horrific abuse they had suffered at home. What they revealed would shock the nation and set in motion a legal case that would consume France for years to come. According to the Delay children, they had been subjected to sexual abuse not just by their parents, but by a wide network of adults in the Outreau area. They spoke of being raped, tortured, and even prostituted out to strangers. As more and more children came forward with similar stories, the scale of the alleged abuse began to grow. Soon the case had ballooned to include over 50 children and 40 adult suspects. Police and prosecutors were convinced they had uncovered a massive pedophile ring, one that even extended across the border into Belgium. They moved quickly to arrest suspects and interrogate witnesses, determined to get to the bottom of this heinous crime. But as the investigation progressed, cracks began to appear in the case against the accused. Many of the accused vehemently maintained their innocence, insisting they had been wrongfully implicated in the case. Some pointed out inconsistencies in the children's accounts, while others argued that investigators had used leading questions to extract false confessions. The involvement of individuals like priest Dominique Viel and Jean-Marc Cuvelier, a man with intellectual disabilities, seemed highly improbable given their personal circumstances. As doubts began to surface about the credibility of the accusations and the methods employed by investigators, concerns grew about the potential for a miscarriage of justice. Notwithstanding the warning signs, the investigation soldiered on. Law enforcement arrested suspects in droves, frequently with scant evidence apart from the accuser's testimonies. The media pounced on the story, portraying the defendants as vile predators before they even had the opportunity to defend themselves in court. The perfect storm brewed, fueled by public outrage, political pressure, and an unwavering commitment to believe the victims, no matter the cost. As the trial commenced in 2004, the fissures in the prosecution's case only grew more pronounced. The court proceedings devolved into a media spectacle, with journalists from across the globe converging on the quaint town of Saint-Omer to document every twist and turn. For weeks on end, the alleged victims bravely took the stand, recounting their harrowing ordeals in painstaking detail. Their testimony painted a picture of unimaginable horror, leaving an indelible mark on all who bore witness. Yet, as the trial wore on, doubts began to surface, and the once solid foundation of the prosecution's case started to crack under the weight of scrutiny. However, as the defense attorneys began their cross-examination, the children's accounts started to crumble. Several of the young witnesses confessed to fabricating or embellishing their stories, while others provided testimony that was inconsistent or simply unbelievable. The defense argued that the investigators had employed suggestive and leading questioning tactics, effectively coercing false confessions from the impressionable and vulnerable children. Even more alarming were the actions of key players in the case. Fabrice Burgot, the investigating judge, faced accusations of maintaining an inappropriately close relationship with the prosecution and disregarding evidence that contradicted his preconceived notions about the crime. Furthermore, the psychological experts who had conducted interviews with the children came under fire for employing questionable methodologies and asking leading questions that may have influenced the children's responses. These revelations cast serious doubts on the integrity of the investigation and the validity of the accusations. In the end, the trial resulted in a mixed verdict. Out of the 17 defendants, 10 were convicted and sentenced to lengthy prison terms. But the decision was far from unanimous, with some jurors expressing doubts about the strength of the evidence. The case was appealed, and in 2005, a higher court overturned the convictions of 6 of the defendants, citing a lack of credible evidence. The acquittals sent shockwaves through French society. How could a case that had seemed so certain, so black and white, have fallen apart so spectacularly? The answer, it turned out, lay in a combination of factors: overzealous prosecutors, flawed investigative techniques, and a rush to judgment in the face of public pressure. In the aftermath of the Outreau Affair, France was forced to confront some uncomfortable truths about its justice system. A parliamentary inquiry was launched to investigate the case, and its findings were damning. The report criticized the handling of the investigation, the use of suggestive questioning techniques, and the lack of physical evidence to support the accusations. The case also had a profound impact on the lives of those involved. The wrongfully accused had their reputations shattered and their lives turned upside down, even after their acquittals. Some struggled to find work or rebuild relationships with family and friends. Others, like François Mormond, took their own lives, unable to bear the weight of the false accusations. For the victims, too, the legacy of Outreau was a complicated one. While there is no doubt that the Delay children suffered horrific abuse at the hands of their parents, the extent of the alleged pedophile ring remains uncertain. Some have questioned whether the children's stories were exaggerated or influenced by the suggestive questioning of investigators. In the years since the Outreau Affair, France has taken steps to reform its justice system and prevent similar miscarriages of justice from occurring. New guidelines have been put in place for the questioning of child witnesses, and greater emphasis has been placed on the need for physical evidence to corroborate accusations. But the case remains a cautionary tale about the dangers of a rush to judgment, particularly in cases involving allegations of child abuse. It's a reminder of the need for careful, thorough investigations that prioritize the pursuit of truth over the desire for a quick conviction. And it's a call to action for all of us to remain vigilant in the face of injustice and to hold those in power accountable when things go wrong. As this episode of Crime Chronicles comes to a close, it's important to reflect on the lessons learned from the Outreau Affair. How can society prevent false accusations from destroying innocent lives? What safeguards should be put in place to ensure that justice is truly served? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the Crime Chronicles channel for more captivating true crime stories.